What's up YouTube? Brian here, back again with another video, and we are back to reviewing rods. And this is like a rod review, a combo rod review that I've been wanting to do for a while because I've had literally 2 years of seat time with these two bad boys, the Gloomis NRX Plus 852S and the 872S. And I'm going to talk in depth about both of these rods now that I've had a ton of time on them. I know these came out 2 years ago. I did some initial videos. They got a lot of views, and I was just like, these rods are so good, they deserve their own review after having actually used them. So we're going to talk about those in a minute. First off, if you are not following me on the Instagram, you definitely should. Here's my handle, @punchfishing. I post a lot of on the water content on my Instagram. So I'm actually out fishing, and I'm doing things, and I'm showing techniques or showing catches. All that stuff's usually down in my Instagram. I don't usually make fishing on the water videos for this channel because they don't do that well, and most people come here just for the gear talk and the gear nerdiness. So if you want the actual on the water stuff, follow me on Instagram. All right, so let's just dive right into these reviews. I'm an open book. I've had the old NRX versions of these spinning rods for many years. I've had them come in and out of my collection. I've bought, I've sold. I recently sold my regular NRX 872S to a guy in my tournament league, and I still have this one, the 852S, which I'm also probably going to sell because I love the NRX Plus version so much. I really don't think I need to keep around the old versions anymore because these things are kind of collecting dust. I have the old 873C as well. Both of those rods, I haven't tossed a bait on them since I've gotten the Plus versions. So now, just a quick education, really. A quick education on NRX rods. These have been out for well over a decade. This particular model was unchanged for many, many years. They came out with some newer models here and there, but generally, if you bought this rod 8 years ago up until the NRX Pluses, this was essentially the same rod. They didn't change the handle. Nothing had really changed or updated since then. They still had titanium guides going up until the wire REC guides. These have always been really, really lightweight, and they've also been really, really expensive. Then the NRX Pluses dropped a couple of years ago, and they had some significant upgrades. Not earth-shattering upgrades, but they did get some upgrades. They got the upgrades in the form of the Shimano Conquest handle. So Loomis basically dipped into the Shimano parts bin, took the exact handles, like literally the same parts that's on the Shimano Conquest spinning rods, slapped them on the NRX. They added the Spiral X technology to all of the blanks. The Spiral X was not in the old rods. And then they changed a couple little things, like they added black threading up the guides. So the first guide is the first guide is the old school NRX blue thread, but then they put black all the way up, which I think is a great thing because if you lose a guide or you got to replace one or you crack, these REC guides do break. If you break one of these, you can take it to most rod shops and they can just throw blue thread on it and replace it, and it looks like new. You can get REC guides anywhere. It's actually a pretty cheap fix to just have a rod shop do it. But before, if you had to replace a guide, almost no rod shops had the exact same blue that Loomis uses on the rod. So you would get like a blue that was kind of close, but not exact. So you could always tell which guides were replaced by a shop because there's that one little blue threading that was a little different than the other ones. So you see that a lot on used rods. So anyway, so they changed it to black. Same guide train, still using the recoil guides from REC. So the recoil guides are still there. Still super lightweight. Just for a reference, the old 852S is 3.5 ounces and the NRX Plus 852S is 3.4 ounces. So they did save weight. You can't tell. If you pick both these rods up, there's zero chance any human being can tell the difference between the two as far as weight goes. Balance-wise, they are both really good. You can kind of throw any reel on these things. I usually run a Shimano X-Sense 4000 on both of these. Now the reason being is when COVID hit, a lot of people sold these X-Senses for like really cheap, and I actually got a couple used ones really on a good, like super good discount on Facebook. So the point is, I picked up these for a really good price, and I do like them. I actually have 3 of them now. The old X-Sense 4000s, not the new one. This is the one that's based on the old Stella. Love these reels. They're fantastic. So I usually run both of these with a X-Sense 4000, but a Vanford 3000 fits great on this. A Stratic 3,000 fits great on it. You can even throw 2,500. These things are so light. You can kind of just throw whatever spinning reel you want on these things. Is going to be fine. So the upgrade department was a little bit lighter, much better handle. This handle is a gazillion times better than the old handle. Like, not even like that literally would be the number one reason to just buy the new one versus find an old one, is the handle is fantastic. Love the Conquest handle. The cork is a really good quality. So I've beaten the crap out of this cork for 2 years. I have it sealed with U40, and I have 0 pieces of filler that have come out. So this cork, 2 years in, and I use the crap out of these rods. Looks great. So cork gets a passing grade. The Spiral X on the rod made it a little stiffer than the old ones. So when you do a bend test to this one to the old one, this is a smidge stiffer. So it did add some rigidity to these rods, which the 852S was already a super rigid rod. So you just made this even more rigid. But it's not a bad thing in my opinion. This thing is a straight up extra fast rod. So when you say, hey, this rod is extra fast, the NRX 852, I mean, look at where the tip shuts down. I mean, it shuts down like right here. So, yeah, it's a really fast rod. So let's just talk about the 852S first, and then we'll talk about the 872S, because they're really similar in a lot of ways, but there's one big difference between the two that I'm going to touch on in a minute. So first off, the 852S, I would consider this to be the best shallow water spinning rod that NRX makes. So when I say shallow water, I'm talking shaky heads, wacky worms, finesse jigs. Anytime you're in 15 feet or less of water, that's where this thing really excels. And this thing really excels in grass. Like if you throw shaky heads in grass, Nico rigs in grass, you're fishing anywhere that there's some cover and you need some power, that's where this bad boy comes in. Fishing brush piles, that kind of stuff. The 852S has power in spades, but combined with the power is really light rod, easy to fish all day, and sensitive as heck. This is probably one of the most sensitive rods on earth, like for freshwater bass fishing. So the sensitivity is definitely on point. You can feel like if I fire I'm a big shaky head fan. If I fire a shaky head into the grass, I can feel when panfish are nibbling at it. I can feel when a bite happens. I feel when a pike grabs it and runs with it. Like you can feel, you get tons of information back on both of these rods, to be honest. So when you use them a lot, you just get really used to having all that information coming up through your hand. So the sensitivity is amazing, light, cork is held up really well. Be aware that this thing is rigid. The one downside with this rod being so fast and rigid is that it doesn't make super long casts. So if you're thinking you're going to bomb out a Ned rig, not really on this rod. It doesn't matter what reel you put on it. This thing is a little distance challenged because of the really firm tip and how much this tip bounces back to straight right away. This is not a whippy rod by any means. So if you're thinking you're going to make big long casts with this thing, not so much. That's why I think this rod really just excels at shallow water fishing. Absolutely, you can use it deep. You can throw paddle tails on this. You can go out 20 plus foot, try to, you throw a bigger paddle tail on this thing, no problem. So I'm not saying it can't do deep water, but it's definitely sweet spot is just beating the bank, shallow water finesse, right? Tons of power, lightweight, love this rod. The 852S is definitely a GOAT. If you are a spinning rod nerd, if you've never owned an 852S in your life, you have to try one. I definitely suggest the NRX Plus version over the other versions in the Shimano line. I know there's a GLX. Don't buy those. Trust me. This is the one to get. I know it's really expensive. And let's talk about the market on these right now. So Shimano has caught up with production on the NRX. So every shop has these now. They used to be kind of hard to get when they first came out, but all the shops are flush with these things now. It's really not a hard rod to find. Getting discounts on these things isn't what it used to be. You used to be able to get like 30-35% off. I'm not kidding, 35% off sometimes at shops that were selling these things. But nowadays, getting 20% off is good. You can't, the big nice discounts on NRXs are not as easy to find. You still can get them, especially if you go into a shop physically and you buy multiples. You can definitely ring the discount up and make a good deal. Shimano is MAP protected, meaning that you're not supposed to be able to use codes on these online. They're very big sticklers about this. So if you do get a deal on a rod, you're probably going to have to physically go into the shop. and buy it, or pick these up on the used market because the warranties on these things are fantastic. Shimano has this really great, if you just break the rod by accident and you're not under warranty, you just pay, I think it's like $150, and they just send you a brand new one. You send them the broken one, no questions asked, bada bing, bada boom. So Shimano's got a great warranty, or I should say Loomis has a great warranty. I keep saying Shimano, Shimano owns these guys, so whatever. So Loomis has a great warranty on these. The aftermarket is getting a little better now, so you can get these things used for, $375 to $475, somewhere in that range, depending on how desperate the seller is. So if you want to save a bunch of money, pick these up used. These are really, really durable rods. It takes a lot to break these things. Usually breaks are user error. These aren't like Mega Bass where you set the hook on a fish, you get some grass and you pull it back and it snaps. Not happening on Gloomis NRX. These things take so much abuse. Very, very sturdy rods. I have no problem buying these on the aftermarket, especially used. They're going to be fine. So shops are still doing discounts. Not maybe as much as I used to say in the past you could get really good deals. Now you can get lukewarm deals. I don't know if you're getting those crazy good deals anymore. Maybe if shops get a little desperate at the fall, at the end of the season, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, 852S, amazing shaky head rod. I'm going to show you a video really quick of a fish catch just to kind of show you the deflection and the action on this rod when you do hook into a fish. So let's jump over to the laptop real quick. So this is a shaky head in some grass in a lake in Wisconsin.
There we go.
So as you can see, pretty fast tip. It does not bend down to blank that much, especially under load with a fish. I'm using 10-pound braid to a 8-pound 4-carbon leader. Let's see if I can get a good action shot here. Yeah, so I mean, when it needs to load up, it loads up, but this is a very stiff rod. But what's great about fishing these shaky heads in grass is you can feel the bite.
Mr. Largemouth?
You're not missing a fish. You're going to feel everything that's going on down at the end of your pole. Really great rod. If you're a shaky head nerd,
Get over here, buddy.
this might be literally the best shaky head bass rod on the planet. I don't care what brands you use. You definitely, if you're a shaky head rod nerd, you have to try the 852S on a shaky head because it is amazing. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the 852S. So remember when I said the 872S. Remember when I said the 852S does not make long casts? This one does. So the 852S the 872S is basically a couple inches longer than that. So the other one was 7.1. This thing is 7.3. So you get a couple extra inches on this rod, but the tip is way softer. So this has a softer tip than the 852S. Thus, if you want to bomb a bait, the 872S is the rod you want. So I use this rod a ton for deep water smallmouth fishing, and I also love this thing for fishing grass lines with Nico rigs. So whenever I'm fishing 15 feet plus water, this thing is coming out. This thing is also an awesome walleye stick. I literally have the same. I just was walleye fishing last weekend, and I have the Josh Douglas GoldenEye head with a 3-point Kitech. I caught 26-inch walleye just a couple days ago with this exact setup, with this exact bait up in northern Minnesota in Spicer. So my point is, even though this thing is a bass rod, heck of a walleye stick, especially in deep water, throwing things like paddle tails. So this rod has all the same characteristics as the 852S, has the upgraded handle, same guide train, same everything essentially. Just that it's got that couple extra inches on the tip that are softer and more whippy than the 852S. So what I love this rod for is paddle tail swim baits. This is my absolute favorite paddle tail swim bait rod. I almost have one of these tied on 75% of the time. Also, great nickel rig rod. Anything you're dragging deep, you could throw finesse jigs down deep, small football heads. Really anything that's touching the bottom in 15 foot or more of water, that's when this bad boy excels. It's a big rod. It fishes big. It feels big in the hand. That's what she said. But anyway, fun rod, super sensitive. When you feel that bite down in deep water, like you're fishing these paddle tails down at a walleye school in like 25 feet, slow rolling it, all of a sudden you feel at the end of the tip. lift it up. That fish ain't not it's not going anywhere. This rod really does keep fish pegged really well, especially bigger fish. I've caught muskies on this rod, big smallmouth, giant pike on this thing. This is just a all around badass rod. The 872S is definitely amazing. But if you're a bank fisherman or you're only fishing shallow or you don't do that deep stuff, the 872 might be a little overkill and you might like the 852S much better. So pick one, pick the other, get both like I do. I say that these two rods are basically some of the best spinning rods on earth, the 852 and the 872. And if you're a bass fisherman and you've not tried either of these rods at some point in your life, do yourself a favor, try them out. I am not a Shimano Pro Staff person. I am no affiliation with any of these rod brands. This is just personal opinion. I will not be ever replacing these two rods. They will always be in my arsenal. I love using them. They're always in my rod locker. If I'm bass fishing in a tournament, the 852S is almost always in the locker. If I'm going out fun smallmouth fishing in Wisconsin or walleyes, that 872S is never not in my rod locker. So anyway, point is, kick-ass rods. Try and pick one up if you can. I know they're very expensive. Getting deals on them is not what it used to be. And really, you can slap any you really want on them. They're great rods. I just wanted to give a dedicated video to both of these things. And like I said, if you're not following me on Instagram, you absolutely should. That's where I post a lot of cool stuff. And I'm always making commentary in my stories about things going on in the fishing industry. So I troll a little bit, try to be funny, doing a lot of stuff on the Instagram. So please check that out. My rod and reel arsenal video is coming very soon. We'll be filming that bad boy soon. And also just stay tuned. I've been testing a lot of rods. I've been using the new Daiwa Tattoo Elites. I've been using the Cashin. I got the new Megabass P5 stuff I've been testing. I've been out fishing a lot this summer in the last month, and I'm testing all sorts of new stuff, and I can't wait to talk about them because I have some thoughts and opinions as usual. But anyway, until next time, if you've made it this far in the video, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Take it easy.